And do I think that they will be released ultimately? I don't know, because of that fact, because of the national security um, take on this, or piece of this. I think it's 50-50 whether it comes out.
Hi, I'm Fergus Macphee, and welcome to the Trump Report on Times Radio. You can watch us every day, Monday through Friday, on our YouTube channel, and you can also listen and follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. Joining me today, I'm delighted to say, is Carla Sands, former US Ambassador to Denmark and Greenland, and chair of the Foreign Policy Initiative at the America First Policy Institute. Carla, thank you so much for joining the show. How are you today?
I'm great, Fergus. It's great to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, it's our pleasure. We know you're very busy, so thank you for joining us. There is only one place to start today, really. We've been talking about it really for the last sort of few weeks, but let's start with the news that last night, Donald Trump called on Republicans in Congress to vote to release the Epstein files. He wrote on Truth Social last night saying, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. And it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetuated by radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party. This is a sort of recent change, at least publicly, in his position on the story. What do you think is behind this change of heart?
Well, what I think is behind all of this is that the Democrats just shut down the US government for 43 days, the longest shutdown, where poor people could not get their food help. And some people need help with, food security, even in the United States. But just as bad, they weren't paying. They literally voted against paying government workers, people working in the TSA, in the airports, the air traffic controllers, our military. They voted against paying those people even during the government shutdown. So they have shown they're not a friend of the working people. This whole Epstein thing, this whole thing that they ginned up in the leftist media, the leftist Democrat media in the United States, is to distract from what they did. They've literally taken billions of dollars off of the US GDP. They've hurt companies, they've hurt people, kids. I mean, everybody in the United States had an impact from the Democrat led shutdown that gave them nothing. They did it for naught. It's pretty shocking, and what they were trying to fund was illegal benefits from healthcare, and then also subsidies to prop up. These were COVID era subsidies, and we know COVID is over. These were COVID era subsidies to prop up the Affordable Care Act, or as some people like to call it, Obamacare, which when Obama tried to sell Obamacare to the Congress and to the American people, he said, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan. You're going to save $2,500 a year. All lies. People lost their doctor, they lost their health care, and it's cost them double what they used to pay. For me, it's more than double.
I think you said on Times Radio, sort of maybe back a few months ago, that the files were a distraction. And here we are. Obviously, I'm speaking to you now. I opened it talking about them. Considering what you said then, do you support this call from the president for Republicans to vote for it?
He's going to say what he decides to say. I wasn't involved in the whole issue. Clearly, he knew the man. He rejected the man, and he actually helped the FBI when the FBI was looking into the whole issue. So, I mean, what you know is what I know. It's all open source information. And the leftist Democrat media in the United States has tried to gin this up and make it they're taking him out. I just want to remind you and all of your viewers and listeners, during his first administration, they ginned up the Russia hoax to try to take him out and stop his agenda of benefiting the American people. I mean, how perverse can you get that you don't want the economy to do well? This president is laser focused on reinvigorating our economy after bad leadership from what many people think is the illegitimate Biden administration.
I take that point, but it hasn't always necessarily just been Democrats discussing this story. You go back to December 2021, JD Vance was saying, what possible interest would the US government have in keeping Epstein's clients secret, to the news that the DOJ and Ghislaine Maxwell had agreed to not publish her book of contacts. Obviously, earlier this year, Pam Bondi said that it was sitting on her desk to review. And even Donald Trump in 2024 said, yeah, I would release the file. So it hasn't always just been Democrats talking about this.
So, and I hear what you're saying, Fergus. It is a fair point, but a lot of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, and our heart should go out to every victim of every pervert who tries to prey on young girls or children. And this guy was a pervert, but a lot of them have become tools, and they're being paid to attack President Trump and to get information, to get money, and to try to also distract from his administration. And so they've been weaponized by the people that they are working with. I'm not judging them. I'm just saying this is what's happening. But if you just look at the sort of the broader issue of President Trump, JD Vance, and many other leaders in the United States on both sides of the aisle saying, why don't we release the JFK files? Why don't we release the Martin Luther King files, the Epstein files, all of these old secrets? Because it was it was something that the American people were unsettled by, that the intelligence community had hidden the truth. A lot of it has been released, and it kind of landed with a fizzle. I mean, nobody talks about any of it. It's out there. I think it's going to be the same with this.
But yeah, but I'm glad you mentioned the victims there, because I mean, this whole issue is bigger than Donald Trump, is bigger than the president. I think Thomas Massie said, I don't have his direct quotes in front of me, but he was sort of saying, he votes with his party 90% of the time. But the reason he wants this to come out is that anyone accused of any wrongdoing who might be in this file should have their name released. Do you sort of accept that?
Well, I think the reason that it has been hidden is because the men are so powerful. I think that this whole thing has been given national security cover. And do I think that they will be released ultimately? I don't know, because of that fact, because of the national security um, take on this, or piece of this. I think it's 50-50 whether it comes out.
Have you spoken to anyone within the Republican Party? Because there's sort of wild estimates of how many might vote for it. I think Thomas Massie said he's expecting 100 or more. I mean, that seems incredibly high to me.
I haven't. What I care about are the things that matter. This is a long time ago. The courts will absolutely hold these people accountable if the names come out. There's going to be some kind of consequence, I hope, for the perpetrators of these crimes on the victims. But as a matter of fact, I mean, I really want to keep my eye on the big picture of what's going on in the United States to benefit the people of the United States and to benefit our relationship with our allies, so that we have strong relationships, because that makes us all more secure.
Thank you. I hear that, and we will sort of come on to that. I just want to ask, because sometimes this gets lost in this debate slightly, that obviously, even if this vote passes later this week, it then has to go to the Senate and then has to go to the president. Obviously, with what Donald Trump has said last night, that sort of gives the impression that he would be willing to sign it off. Is there, if it sits with the Senate, does that then put an incredible amount of pressure on them to put it through?
Again, I just don't know. I am not focused on this issue. It's a distraction. My heart again goes out to the victims. It's terrible what happened to them. But as a matter of fact, the actual issue, is about our national defense, our strong economy, getting the economy turned around. The one big beautiful bill that passed that changes everything for American businesses, for taxation, for working people, for their personal taxes on income, on overtime, and so that businesses can expense much more quickly. What President Trump has done working with the Congress and Senate is codified the opportunity for the American economy to just soar.
Mm. It is a distraction, but I think what I'm trying to get at is, if it hasn't been released in a year's time, come the midterms, it will still be a distraction. And, you and I could be here in a year still talking about it.
Well, again, the care for the victims, I will never tire of talking about. It's wrong. It's always wrong. It's never okay.
I want to move on slightly, because when you say you're focused on the impacts of today, Are you close at all with Marjorie Taylor Greene?
I've met Marjorie Taylor Greene. She seems like a nice lady.
Because obviously she sat down with an exclusive interview to Dana Bash on CNN last night, and she apologized for some of her rhetoric over the years. But then she said that America needs to come together and end all the toxic, dangerous rhetoric and divide. And I'm leading the way with my own example, and I hope that President Trump can do the same. You are a member of the America First Policy Institute. One thing that she has sort of remained steadfast to is her belief in this America First ideology. Where do you stand currently on the feud between her and Donald Trump?
Where I stand is that the left has the dangerous and hateful rhetoric. The conservatives, the Republicans, they may, say things that are slightly in disagreement with each other, but it's actually the left that is using words to incite violence. For instance, even elected politicians, no, I'm going to say even elected politicians who are Democrats are inciting violence and the killing of others because of what they say. They incited the violence that killed Charlie Kirk because we had a person who was indoctrinated from the left, from the modern Democrats. And then he was also involved in the trans community, and he shot, I would say, the leading voice on the conservative side in the world was Charlie Kirk. He was a free speech guy. That's what he did. He said, we have to talk so that it doesn't come to violence. Well, his speaking and the Democrats brought it to violence. And you saw two attempted assassinations on President Trump's life, one that was almost successful, and other conservatives that have been shot and maimed and attacked by Antifa, kind of like black bloc people in the United States, sometimes trans Tifa, which is a group of Antifa that are also involved with the trans community. These people want no good for the conservative or the Republicans. That's where the danger is happening in the United States.
I just want to be clear that investigation in Charlie Kirk's killer, that is still ongoing.
It is ongoing, yes.
Yes. Um, but at the same time, obviously, Marjorie Taylor Greene has just spoken out because Donald Trump called her a traitor. He called her wacky. And I believe she's sort of having things sent to her house now. So, she's obviously clearly quite upset about the situation she's found herself in with the president.
If I'm not mistaken, I think she was swatted before too. And that's when usually it's leftist Democrats will call the police and say, oh, someone's got a gun to my head, please come and save me. But it's not for themselves. It's to have someone attacked and killed, have death by police is the goal. So they send it to their political opposition's home. It's happened to people in the Trump cabinet. It didn't happen to Biden's cabinet. Let's just say that. It's happened to the Trump cabinet and many elected officials on the Republican side because the leftist Democrats' rhetoric and their hate. So when you talk about having, speech that's friendly, that she's encouraging, well, I think that the problem is largely, I will say 90% on the leftist Democrats, not on the Republicans. Maybe she's been trying to push President Trump from the conservative side. Maybe some of her rhetoric was trying to get him to return to some more conservative ideas. Someone was telling me today that President Trump is just slightly to the left of where President Clinton was as a Democrat president I think it was in the 80s and maybe 90s, whenever he was president. And so President Clinton was actually more conservative than President Trump. She may have been trying to push President Trump toward the conservative side. He's a former Democrat. He's a Big Tent guy who is, I would say, looking out for all the American people, more focused on business than on social issues.
And would yourself and the America First policy initiative, would you also like to see him sort of push more towards the conservative side?
Well, I don't speak for President Trump or America First Policy Institute. I speak only for myself. And what I see is I see a president that is ran on his campaign promises and he is fulfilling them one after another as fast as he can. I've never seen a president work as fast as President Trump has worked. It is an honor to watch this incredible administration put things to the right. And I really hope that the UK government and the European governments will follow suit and put the needs of their citizens first, not the needs of the Ukrainian people, not the net zero, carbon neutral agenda that's causing the cost of energy to go up so fast and so high, that's killing your businesses. Also, the immigration control, controlling borders, and making sure that people coming in love your country and don't have bad ideas that they want to take it over.
Just finally, before I let you go, well, one thing that perhaps wasn't on his agenda before he became president, but is now sort of firmly in the headline, is his threat to sue the BBC between $1 to $5 billion. Because just today, the chair of the corporation, Samir Shah, has said that there is no basis for a defamation case, and we're determined to fight this. Do you have any reaction straight off the bat to that?
Oh boy, I'm so glad you asked me this question, Fergus. First of all, what the BBC did is really bad. And when I would do interviews on the BBC, they would throw this out to me. Well, he incited violence. He told us, I'd be like, no, he didn't. He told them to peacefully and patriotically protest. He never incited his followers to violence. So what they did is they tried to make up a fake story. And that's why he calls them fake news. The UK has special laws. They're much stricter than the United States. In the US, it's very hard to sue and win money from broadcasters, but he's won, between 25 million and 10 million from various broadcasters that have actually done things that are unethical, and it's been proven in court, right? Or they've settled. The BBC's case, the bar is much lower, actually, not higher than the US. Do I think he's going to be awarded money from this case? I do. Do I think it's a lot more than 25 million? You bet I do. This is so serious that, I get chills. This is the government broadcaster of the UK, funded by your tax dollars, that literally faked the story on the US president. Oh my God. If he gets 5 billion, I'm happy for him. I think he should get at least a billion. It's just extraordinary. And they should go down in history in disgrace because of what they did.
I guess in terms of the legal issues, maybe some legal experts and the BBC's own lawyers suggest that because it wasn't aired in the US, Donald Trump might not have a case, and also it didn't necessarily impact his popularity enough because obviously he won a second term. But that is what the BBC lawyers and legal experts say.
Good luck with that. The media now flows between every border because everything is clipped and shared around the world. It's now local media is global media. So I think that I'm not a lawyer, but I think that that his lawyers will have a very good case.
Just quickly before I let you go, will the Epstein files be released this week?
Oh my gosh, you're asking me something that I don't know. I do not have a crystal ball, Fergus. So I'm sorry that I can't say whether it will be released or not. I think, there's a lot of pent up demand on both sides of the aisle. People, they don't like it when secrets are held back.
Carla Sands, thank you so much for fitting us into your schedule and joining us on the Trump Report.
Great to talk to you, Fergus. Thanks for having me.